I've given you some silver linings to the situation.
No, you haven't, and you don't really apologize. It's an insincere apology. You're actually enjoying this more than you should, and I do not accept the apology. What's happening in the news, Joy?
Okay, well, heading into the Super Bowl, Brady and Gronk were tied with Joe Montana and Jerry Rice for the most playoff touchdowns by a quarterback and receiver duo with 12. They quickly broke that tie by connecting for a touchdown in the first quarter and added to their record with another score in the second quarter. So these two touchdowns also moved Gronk into second place in touchdown receptions in the Super Bowl with 5, and in the playoffs with 14. He only trails Jerry Rice in both of those categories. Obviously, Gronk is a Hall of Famer, so he didn't need this game to solidify that, but that is a remarkable accomplishment. And I actually believed Gronk when he retired that he was really done. And I think he was. I think that Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay and calling him and getting him down there was the only thing that was going to get him out of retirement. He clearly, his body was tore up. I mean, he talked about how exhausted he was. And I think he also was a little bit exhausted with just the culture of New England. Like, I think he enjoyed, I think he enjoyed playing there and obviously had great success. But I think he was ready to just be his full Gronk self. He's great with his money and has handled his career very well. So I think that Tom Brady was the only thing that was going to get him back into the NFL. And I was genuinely happy for him and Tom Brady in that moment because they're the greatest to do that. Like, that's a remarkable accomplishment. And obviously, you know, the dynasty in New England and the time that they spent there together led to this. But it's a tremendous accomplishment.
Playoffs and Super Bowl notwithstanding, it's the greatest red zone connection in NFL history by a mile. What Brady and Gronk were for the better part of a decade, and then to see Gronk do it again in the Super Bowl with a couple more red zone touchdowns. And here's the other thing, Joy. NFL guys, there's not a great history of guys missing a year, taking a year off, and then returning to form. And I know Gronk's overall numbers weren't vintage Gronk, but Gronk's overall numbers in his last full season in 2018 weren't vintage Gronk either. The fact that he was able to perform the way he did in the Super Bowl after the year off, and we've seen, unfortunately, Le'Veon Bell's career go a different direction. I know Marshawn stepped away. He was productive, but still not the same guy. It's really impressive. And I wonder if he can hold on long enough to where he and Brady can be the same Hall of Fame class. Because at this point, you got to assume Brady's playing more than one more year. I don't know if Gronk will or not. They're both first ballot guys. It'd be cool if they could go in together. I recommend they both retire today. That's my recommendation.
That's your recommendation. Gronk will be on Speak for Yourself at 4 p.m. Eastern today. So Aaron Rodgers was named the NFL's most valuable player this weekend and joined some elite company with that win. He became just the 6th player to be named the league MVP 3 times in his career. The only other players to hit that milestone are Peyton Manning, Jim Brown, Johnny Unitas, Tom Brady, and Brett Favre. In 2020, Rodgers set personal bests as well as franchise records with 48 touchdown passes and a 70.7 completion percentage. He threw only 5 interceptions and posted his 9th career 4,000-yard passing season. I am frustrated for Aaron Rodgers. I thought that they were going to win that game and be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. I'm frustrated for Aaron Rodgers because I, from the very beginning, hated that Jordan Love pick from the moment it happened. And it's nothing against Jordan Love whatsoever, but that's not what the Green Bay Packers needed. And I actually have no problem with the way that Aaron Rodgers has handled things since the season ended, because you can't blame it on Aaron Rodgers. He's the league MVP, obviously. And it's not that they need a dramatic overhaul, but they just need to be more aggressive. Aggressive wins in sports these days. It's an aggressive move for Tom Brady to leave New England and that dynasty and Bill Belichick and go to Tampa Bay that does not have a history of winning. Bruce Arians is not a Super Bowl winning coach, at least not at the head coach position. It was an aggressive move, and it paid off. The Rams obviously didn't win a Super Bowl, but were extremely aggressive, got to a Super Bowl. Aggressive wins, and they refused to do that.
Well, and the only part that you said that I would slightly disagree with is when you said how he's handled this offseason. I think that press conference right after the NFC Championship game, he lit a match, and then the next day is like, where'd this fire come from? what's going on here? There's all this smoke. Like, no one in that moment was talking about Rodgers' future. Right. They were before the year, but then because he won league MVP, because things seemed to be going well, they weren't talking about it, and he kind of relit that storyline. But I don't blame him for being a little bitter that he sees the other teams in the NFC have more of a sense of urgency than the Packers have shown with, you know, the final years of his prime. So I understand his frustration.
So the Eagles are reportedly expected to part ways with Carson Wentz soon. A trade could happen as early as this week. The Colts and the Bears have reportedly shown interest in acquiring Wentz, although other teams have called to see what it would take to make that trade. The Eagles are said to be looking for a Matthew Stafford-like deal. The Lions got Jared Goff, 2 first-round picks, and a third-rounder from the Rams in exchange for Stafford. I don't know what the Bears or the Colts could necessarily give the Eagles as far as, you know, if you're going to do a Matthew Stafford-like deal, you would be exchanging a number 1 overall pick. So, like, what do the Eagles want? Trubisky? Like, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But as far as the picks go, obviously, you do want a good trade for Carson Wentz. But I'm actually glad that this is out there. I don't like the situation in Philadelphia at all. I don't know if Jalen Hurts is a franchise quarterback or not. I like what I saw from him so far. But if you're going to keep Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz there, you're signing up for a disaster of a season. I'm sorry. You have a brand new head coach and you don't have a quarterback. Having 2 quarterbacks means you have no quarterback.
Well, so a couple things. One is I'm excited for all the people who came out, Brett Favre included, and ripped Deshaun Watson for asking out of Houston, to rip Carson Wentz because he's asked out of Philly. I'm sure those takes are coming, maybe via Telegram. I just haven't seen them come across the feed yet. That's first of all.
Absolutely.
Second of all, the idea that you could get 1, let alone multiple first-round picks for Carson Wentz is insanity. Now, I think you can get something for him, even though, because the contract doesn't become as bad once you trade for it. But first of all, Stafford was traded for a 1 and a 3. That other first-round pick was to get you to take on Goff. Like, to be clear here, like, Goff was a toxic asset. You had to include a pick, in my opinion, in order to get them to take him. But the idea that Philly could get 2 first-round picks for Carson Wentz is lunacy. Lunacy. There's no chance of that happening whatsoever. I will mark that down. There's 0% that they get 2 first-round picks for Carson Wentz. I'd be surprised if they get 1 first-round pick, but Joy, they cannot get 2. It's impossible.
All I could hear since Carson Wentz has come into this league is how much better he is than Dak Prescott, how impressive he is, what an unbelievable talent he is. And I'm not being sarcastic because I do think that Carson Wentz has that in him because we have seen spurts of that before. But, like, now all of a sudden he's not worth 2 first-round picks? If you're the Colts and you need a quarterback and Frank Reich, who's had success with Carson Wentz, that's not a worthy deal to you?
I think given how he played last year, how he played the majority of the season before, and the fact that he does not seem like he is always the most beloved guy in the locker room, no. I don't think you have to give up 2 first-round picks for him. We'll see. And listen, I was high on Wentz after 2017, but that year now looks like the aberration year. And so, no, we'll obviously find out. I don't think they're getting 2 first-round picks for Carson Wentz. I do not think that is likely at all. There is Joy with the news.
Well,
coming up next.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Coming up next, my apologies, I cut off our wonderful sound people. Mike Vick's going to join us. He'll probably mock me as well. What Tom Brady and LeBron James finally have in common. We will get into that on The Herd. But first, I got to tell you, being at home, we've had a lot of time to focus on areas in our lives we've long thought about improving. And we've had time to improve them. One thing I've definitely improved on is the quality of my own diet with ButcherBox. You got the Kansas City strips or New York strips, whatever you want to call them. The bacon's unbelievable. The fillets. Butcher Box ships high-quality meat conveniently right to your door. They partner with folks who believe in going above and beyond when it comes to caring for animals, the environment, and sustainability. From free-range organic chicken to heritage breed pork, 100% grass-fed and grass-finished beef, to fresh-caught seafood like salmon and scallops, Butcher Box has over 20 different cuts of meat to choose from, and their boxes ship fresh right to your door. Plus, their website is loaded with awesome recipes that the whole family will love. For a limited time, Butcher Box is offering